Part 3, Digestion and Absorption. 16.3, Absorption of digested products. Absorption is the process by which the end products of digestion pass through the intestinal mucosa into the blood or lymph. It is carried out by passive, active, or facilitated transport mechanisms. Small amounts of monosaccharides like glucose, amino acids, and some electrolytes like chloride ions are generally absorbed by simple diffusion. The passage of these substances into the blood depends upon the concentration gradients. However, some substances like glucose and amino acids are absorbed with the help of carrier proteins. This mechanism is called the facilitated transport. Transport of water depends upon the osmotic gradient. Active transport occurs against the concentration gradient and hence requires energy. Various nutrients like amino acids, monosaccharides like glucose, electrolytes like sodium are absorbed into the blood by this mechanism. Fatty acids and glycerol, being insoluble, cannot be absorbed into the blood. They are first incorporated into small droplets called micelles, which move into the intestinal mucosa. They are reformed into very small protein-coated fat globules called chylomicrons, which are transported into the lymph vessels, lacteals, in the villi. These lymph vessels ultimately release the absorbed substances into the blood stream. Absorption of substances takes place in different parts of alimentary canal like mouth, stomach, small intestine and large intestine. However, maximum absorption occurs in the small intestine. A summary of absorption, sites of absorption and substances absorbed is given in table 16.1. Now mouth. In mouth, certain drugs coming in contact with the mucosa of mouth and lower side of tongue are absorbed into the blood capillaries lining them. Stomach. Absorption of water, simple sugars and alcohol etc. takes place. Small intestine, principal organ for absorption of nutrients. The digestion is completed here and the final products of digestion such as glucose, fructose, fatty acids, glycerol and amino acids are absorbed through the mucosa into the bloodstream and lymph. Large intestine, absorption of water, some minerals and drugs takes place. The absorbed substances finally reach the tissues which utilize them for their activities. This process is called assimilation. The digested waste solidifies into coherent feces in the rectum, initiate a neutral reflex causing an urge or desire for its removal. The ejection of feces to the outside through the anal opening defecation is a voluntary process and is carried out by a mass peristaltic movement. Disorders of digestive system. The inflammation of intestinal tract is the most common ailment due to bacterial or viral infections. The infections are also caused by parasites of intestine like tapeworm, roundworm, threadworm, hookworm, pinworm, etc. Now jaundice. The liver is affected, skin and eyes turn yellow due to the deposition of bile pigments. Vomiting. It is the ejection of stomach contents through the mouth. This reflex action is controlled by the vomit center in the medulla. A feeling of nausea precedes vomiting. Diarrhea. The abnormal frequency of bowel movement and increased liquidity of the fecal discharge is known as diarrhea. It reduces the absorption of food. Constipation. In constipation, the feces are retained within the rectum as the bowel movements occur irregularly. Indigestion. In this condition, the food is not properly digested, leading to a feeling of fullness. The cause of indigestion are inadequate enzyme secretion, anxiety, food poisoning, overeating, and spicy food. And with this, we come to an end of this chapter. I'm reading the summary part also. The digestive system of human consists of an alimentary canal and associated digestive glands. The alimentary canal consists of mouth, buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum and the anus. The accessory digestive glands include the salivary gland, the liver with the gallbladder and the pancreas. Inside the mouth, the teeth masticates the food, the tongue tastes the food and manipulates it for proper mastication by mixing with saliva. Saliva contains a starch digestive enzyme, salivary amylase, that digests the starch and converts it into maltose disaccharide. The food then passes into the pharynx and enters the esophagus in the form of bolus, which is further carried down through the esophagus by peristalsis into the stomach. In stomach, mainly proteins digestion takes place. Absorption of simple sugars, alcohol, and medicines also take place in the stomach. The chyme, food, enters into the duodenum portion of the small intestine and is acted on by the pancreatic juice, bile, and finally by the enzymes in the succus entericus, so that the digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats is completed. The food then enters into the jejunum and the ileum portion of small intestine. Carbohydrates are digested and converted into monosaccharides like glucose. Proteins are finally broken down into amino acids. The fats are converted into fatty acids and glycerol. The digested end products are absorbed into the body through the epithelial lining of the intestinal villi. The undigested food, feces, enter into the cecum of the large intestine through ileocecal valve, which prevents the backflow of the fecal matter. Most of the water is absorbed in the large intestine. The undigested food becomes semi-solid in nature and then enters into rectum, the anal canal, and is finally digested out through the anus. And with this we come to an end. I know I have read the summary part a bit faster, so I'd request you to arrange your playback speed as per your comfort, or else we have come to an end of this chapter. After that, from next chapter onwards, we'll try to do it in one shot as you all demand. Thank you. Stay connected to NEETshala. You can also get us connected to us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram.